Have you ever, stopped to really think about what holds our buildings together? Our homes, offices, even be a big public square. It's usually the stuff we don't even notice. Kind of the unsung heroes behind, well, huge global growth. So today we're doing a deep dive into one of those surprisingly big industries. Tile and stone adhesives. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. What exactly are we talking about with tile and stone adhesives? Fundamentally, they're these specialized bonding agents, basically sophisticated glues, right, for putting tiles, marble, stone onto walls, floors.
Yeah, exactly. From your kitchen backsplash right up to, say, a huge hotel lobby.
Hmm.
And the research we're looking at today from cognitive market research, it really stresses that these aren't just, your average craft glues. We're
Okay.
talking about formulas that give you really high bond strength, plus flexibility, which is key. And serious water resistance. These properties, while they make them super versatile, good for inside, good for outside, across homes, businesses, even tough industrial sites.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive, it's basically to pull back the curtain on this often kind of hidden market. We want to explore just how big it is, look into what's really driving its growth, and understand why it matters to, well, everything around us. And we've got some fascinating data from cognitive market research to guide us. So, yeah, get ready for a journey into global construction trends you might not expect.
Okay, you mentioned those key features. High bond strength, flexibility, water resistance. Why are those things so critical, like for the buildings we put up today?
Well, they're absolutely crucial because they directly impact how long things last, the durability of it all. I mean, think about it. High bond strength, that means your tiles aren't going anywhere for years, maybe decades, even in busy areas.
Right, you don't want them popping off.
Exactly. And flexibility, that's vital because buildings shift. They expand, contract with temperature, tiny movements. Without flexible adhesives, you just get cracks everywhere. Failures.
And water resistance, well, that's just non-negotiable for places like bathrooms, kitchens, pools, patios.
Huh.
It stops water damage, mold, expensive problems down the line.
Hmm.
So these adhesives, they're sort of the invisible foundation ensuring surfaces stay stable, look good, and last, whether it's, your home bathroom or like a massive airport terminal.
That makes total sense. So the quality underneath really dictates the quality you see and how long it stays that way.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting for me. Connecting that product stuff to the why. Why is this market expanding so much? Our source highlights three main drivers: growing urbanization, big infrastructure projects, and maybe less obviously, people just wanting nicer looking interiors.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how direct that link is. Urbanization, for example.
Mhm.
More people in cities means,
More apartments, more offices.
right, more buildings needing floors and walls covered.
Yeah.
And infrastructure, that's not just roads. Think new airports, train stations.
Huge spaces, often tiled, yeah. Huge spaces, lots of tile and stone.
Yeah.
And then the aesthetic thing, you see it everywhere, right? Home reno shows, design magazines. People are just, investing more in making their spaces look good using high quality tiles. And that needs not just more adhesive, but often better, more specialized stuff to handle those fancy materials.
And the scale we're talking about here, it's pretty significant. This isn't some tiny niche. The global market was already valued at nearly $5 billion back in 2021.
Almost 5 billion, yeah.
And it's projected to hit almost $6 billion by 2025. But then, check this out, it's expected to jump to over $8.4 billion by 2033.
Wow. That's substantial growth. And what's really fascinating there is the consistency. The compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, it's projected at nearly 4.6% for that whole forecast period.
4.6% year after year.
Yeah, that's steady, solid expansion for an industry that, like you said, flies under the radar. It really shows the world isn't just building more, it's building better. More focus on quality, durability, looks. So, okay, let's take a quick trip around the world, look at the construction hotspots. We won't drown you in every single decimal point, but let's get a feel for the big trends, who the main players are, and, where the growth is really happening.
Right, and we have to kick off with Asia Pacific. It's the giant in this market, valued just shy of $2 billion in 2021 and projected to soar past $3.5 billion by 2033.
Yeah, it's the powerhouse. And within that, you've got some real drivers. China, for instance. China was over $500 million in 2021, and they're looking at almost doubling that, getting close to $1 billion by 2033.
Wow.
Japan's also strong, heading towards $700 million. But India's growth is really something else. It's expected to more than double its 2021 market size by 2033. Just massive urbanization and building going on there.
Yeah, you hear about that a lot.
Definitely. And then you've also got significant contributions from, South Korea, Australia, Singapore, other parts of Southeast Asia, Taiwan. It's broad.
Okay, let's head west then. North America. The market there was about 1.4 billion in 2021, projected to grow to over 2.3 billion by 2033. This story's a bit different here, maybe. More renovation focused.
Yeah, somewhat. There's still new building, of course,
Right.
but a lot is driven by renovation, remodeling, and maybe more high-end new builds. The U.S. is the leader, no surprise. Over a billion in 2021, heading for over 1.7 billion by 2033.
Right.
But Canada and Mexico are showing solid growth too. Both are projected to be approaching that $300 million mark by 2033. So strong demand across the continent.
Next up, Europe. Just over $900 million in 2021, and the forecast sees it reaching almost $1.5 billion by 2033.
Yeah, a solid mature market, but still growing. Germany's a big player here, over 140 million back in 2021, growing steadily. Russia and the UK are also pretty significant, both over 120 million in 2021. What's interesting is France is projected to show particularly strong growth, maybe outpacing some others by 2033.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then you've got, Italy, Spain, the Nordics, Switzerland, broad engagement across Europe. It's not just a few countries.
Okay, shifting south now. South America. About $340 million in 2021, and expected to grow to over $640 million by 2033. Almost doubling.
That's right. And Brazil is the dominant force there. Its market's expected to nearly double by 2033, hitting over $200 million itself.
Big player.
Definitely. And then behind Brazil, you see good contributions from Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Chile. Shows that demand for modern building materials is definitely rising across the region.
All right, let's cover the Middle East. Smaller market overall, but important. Around 180 million in 2021, projected to go past 270 million by 2033.
Correct. And Saudi Arabia leads the way there, projected to reach almost 90 million by 2033. You also see significant activity and growth in places like Turkey, the UAE, Egypt, Qatar. Lots of big construction projects driving that.
Makes sense. Lots of development there. And finally, rounding out the globe, Africa. Just under $94 million in 2021, but growing. Projected to hit over 170 million by 2033.
Yeah, starting from a smaller base, but showing definite growth potential. South Africa is key. It was over 32 million in 2021, and it's also expected to nearly double by 2033.
Okay.
And Nigeria is another important one to watch. Projected growth up to over 32 million as well by 2033 reflects the development happening in those key economies.
So, okay, bringing it all together, what does all this mean for you listening? It means this huge growth in a market most people don't think about, tile and stone adhesives. It's actually like a mirror reflecting these massive global shifts. It's tied directly to more people living in cities, that big push for modern buildings and infrastructure, and just, well, the desire for nicer, longer-lasting homes and spaces.
Right, and it raises a really interesting point, doesn't it? How does this steady rising demand for these specific specialized glues, how does that show us how construction standards are changing and what people want globally? It's a good reminder, I think, to consider all the hidden bits and pieces that make up the places we live and work in. Those big, beautiful tiles in a new building lobby or the sleek look in a remodeled kitchen. Those invisible bonds are what make it possible.
It really is amazing. A product you never really see, but it's driving billions in industry and quietly shaping how our world is built. This deep dive definitely shows how these niche-seeming industries are actually tangled up with huge economic and, well, social changes.
Absolutely. So maybe here's something to think about as you go about your day. With billions more people on the planet and this constant desire for spaces that are more personal, more durable, look better, how will that keep pushing demand for these foundational materials? And, maybe more broadly, what other unsung heroes are out there? What other hidden industries are quietly driving massive global trends that we just don't see at first glance?
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something that maybe on the surface sounds pretty practical, maybe even a bit, well, mundane, the tile and stone adhesives market.
Right.
But honestly, for anyone interested in how our built world really works, this industry, it's quite a revealing window into global trends, design, even environmental stuff.
It really is.
Our mission today, like always, is to sift through the sources together, find those key nuggets of info so you can quickly get a handle on what is genuinely shaping this, well, foundational industry.
Quite literally foundational.
Exactly. Think about it. Massive infrastructure projects, changing city skylines, right down to, your own kitchen renovation. It all leans on progress and the stuff that holds it all together.
That's a great way to put it. And the sources we're looking at today, they're mainly excerpts from a cognitive market research report. They really map out a fascinating picture. Lots of innovation, some pretty big challenges too, and shifts in how people choose these products.
Okay, let's unpack that then. What's actually fueling this market? Because it seems to be moving pretty fast. Glue for tiles sounds simple, but the sources suggest a real boom.
Yeah, it's more than just, more buildings going up. It's a basic shift in how things are built.
Mhm.
And it's not just materials driving it, but policy too. The big one is just the sheer scale of construction globally, particularly infrastructure development in places like India, Vietnam, Brazil,
Ooh.
these emerging economies.
Right, the big government projects.
Exactly. Mass housing schemes, huge urban renewal efforts, smart city initiatives. They all really rely on modern construction techniques now.
Right.
And that's where these modern adhesives come in. They just perform better than the old cement sand mortars, much better adhesion, way better with moisture, and they last longer.
Okay.
And policy is definitely speeding things up. Like in India, public housing authorities, they're now specifically using advanced adhesives for bathrooms and kitchens under the PMA scheme. So that's government policy directly pulling innovation into the mainstream.
That's a really clear link. Policy as a driver.
Interesting. But okay, beyond just more construction, what about design trends? Architectural styles, preferences for certain materials. I'm guessing a small ceramic tile has different needs than, say, a massive marble slab in a fancy hotel lobby.
Oh, absolutely. You've nailed a key point there. There's a definite trend towards bigger tiles, large format tiles, and big slabs of natural stone, especially in, upscale homes and commercial buildings.
And those are heavy, right?
Exactly. They pose unique challenges. You've got the weight, obviously. You need the bond to have some flexibility, allow for tiny movements. And crucially, you can't have them sagging, not during installation or years later.
Makes sense.
So this is where the specialized adhesives, the polymer-modified ones, become essential. They ensure everything stays put long-term, and importantly, that it looks good. Architects depend on these for luxury resorts, shopping malls. Think about vertical applications, big tiles on walls, even outside or in steamy hotel bathrooms.
Places where traditional mortar would just give up eventually. Precisely. Traditional mortars often fail in those conditions, cracking, letting moisture seep in. The polymer modification isn't just about strength. It's about making the whole system more adaptable, more resilient.
And speaking of tough conditions, what about areas with constant water exposure? Swimming pools, bathrooms, basements. How are adhesives coping there?
Yeah, waterproofing and just long-term durability are huge focus areas, especially for those zones you mentioned, pools, kitchens, terraces, basements, anywhere moisture is a constant threat.
So what are people looking for?
Well, there's strong demand for adhesives that resist fungus, chemicals, and this is important, have crack bridging capabilities. Basically, they can stretch a tiny bit if the underlying structure moves, preventing water from getting through cracks.
Interesting.
And manufacturers have been innovating. You now get these two-in-one systems, adhesive and waterproofing combined.
Oh, that must save time.
Definitely streamlines the application, saves time, saves labor, and it really boosts the longevity of the structure. Think about pool tiles in a coastal resort, right? They need adhesives that can handle constant salt water, high humidity for years and years without failing. These dual performance products are critical. It's about building in that resilience right from the start.
Okay, the tech sounds impressive. But what are the roadblocks? If these adhesives are so good, why isn't everyone using them, especially given the long-term payoff?
Good question. There are definitely some significant hurdles. First off, price sensitivity is a big one still.
Especially in some regions.
Exactly. In developing countries or even in smaller cities, what they call tier 2 cities, and for smaller projects, the upfront cost of traditional cement mortar is just much lower. So people stick with it, even if it might mean more repairs down the line. Unless there's a real push on awareness or maybe builder incentives, the premium stuff is seen as, an extra cost you can avoid.
Right, the initial saving wins out.
Often, yes.
Right.
Then there's the skilled labor issue. It's a surprisingly big challenge.
Really? It seems like just spreading glue.
Well, proper application actually requires quite a bit of precision. You need the right mixing ratio, the surface has to be prepped correctly, the actual technique matters.
Yep.
And in many areas, particularly maybe more rural spots or those tier 2 cities again, there just isn't enough training. So you get improper usage. That leads to bad adhesion, tiles popping off later, or cracking, and that, understandably, makes end users lose confidence in the adhesives themselves, even if it was an application error.
So is the industry doing anything about training? Or is that still a gap?
It's something manufacturers are aware of. Some offer training, but it remains a challenge to scale effectively. And finally, there's product compatibility,
This is a real headache.
meaning one adhesive doesn't fit all tiles.
Exactly. They're definitely not one size fits all.
Right.
What works perfectly for, say, a dense vitrified tile might be totally wrong for porous marble or a delicate glass mosaic.
Yeah, this lack of clarity, or maybe installers just not knowing, leads to mismatches. And that means costly delays, rework. Imagine a complex project like a hotel.
Right, with different materials everywhere.
Precisely. You might have granite in the lobby, standard ceramic in the bathrooms, glass mosaics in the spa. Each needs potentially different adhesives. It complicates ordering, increases the risk of mistakes on site. People might default to a general purpose adhesive to simplify things, but that can cause problems later, tiles coming loose, or even aesthetic issues like staining or color bleeding through porous stone.
Wow, that sounds like a minefield for contractors.
Yeah.
Is the industry trying to make labeling clearer or develop more universal products, maybe?
It's a constant push-pull, but the industry is adapting, getting smarter about these challenges, and also responding to broader trends. One big shift is towards eco-friendly, low VOC products.
POC.
Volatile organic compounds, basically reducing harmful emissions. This is driven by environmental concerns, sure, but also by green building standards. Certifications like LEED or BREEAM, they increasingly dictate the types of materials used, especially in commercial buildings, government projects, schools, hospitals.
So being green is becoming a requirement.
Increasingly, yes.
Yeah.
For example, you see European school projects specifically demanding low VOC adhesives for better indoor air quality and to meet regulations. Anything aligning with ESG frameworks, environmental, social governance, is gaining traction.
Okay, what else?
Second, huge demand for ready-to-use and especially fast-setting adhesives. Think retail spaces, hotels, places where downtime costs serious money.
We need quick turnarounds.
Exactly. Polymer chemistry has advanced so much that some adhesives let you walk on the tiles in under 3 hours. That's indispensable for fast renovations or high-traffic areas.
That must be great for DIRs too, right?
Hmm,
Mixing cement sounds messy and difficult.
absolutely. Which leads to the third point, the rise of the DIY and home renovation market, particularly big in North America, Europe, parts of Asia. Lockdowns and more working from home definitely boosted that.
Makes sense. People staring at their own walls.
Kind of. And brands are responding. You see adhesives designed for retail, simpler instructions, smaller packages, lots of online tutorials, YouTube, influencers showing how to do it. It's demystifying tile installation for homeowners and small contractors. Think paste-based adhesives for walls, spray-on bonding agents, much more user-friendly.
So it sounds like a really dynamic picture. We've got the drivers, the design needs, the hurdles, the clever responses. Who are the big players navigating all this? Who's leading the charge?
Well, it's a mix. You've got the global behemoths, names like 3M, Henkel, Sika, H.B. Fuller, significant players. But you also have really strong specialized regional companies. Pidilite Industries in India, for instance, Mape, based in Italy but global. Terraco in the UAE.
And what are their strategies? How are they competing?
A lot of it revolves around R&D, pushing innovation. Sustainability is a huge focus now, as we discussed. Localized manufacturing is also key, making products that meet specific regional building codes and preferences. You see companies specializing. Laticrete, for example, is really pushing its green certified adhesive lines. Bostik is focusing on improving its fast setting and heavy tile bonding products. And then there are the usual strategic moves. Joint ventures to enter new markets, mergers and acquisitions to gain scale, diversifying product lines. It's all about capturing market share in both established and growing economies. A real race based on innovation and adapting quickly.
What a fascinating journey. We started with what seemed like, just tile glue, and we've ended up touching on global development, cutting-edge architecture, environmental rules, even the DIY boom. It really shows how these seemingly niche industries are complex and pretty central to how things are changing. A hidden engine, almost.
It is, and maybe that's the key takeaway from this deep dive into tile and stone adhesives. It highlights how even in these industries that might seem mundane from the outside, there are profound shifts happening, driven by tech, by policy, by how we live. You might actually find yourself, looking at the tiles in the next hotel lobby you walk into, or thinking about the adhesive choice for your own project with a totally different perspective. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other invisible industries are out there, quietly being transformed and reshaping our world right under our noses?